Oh, what a sad evening it is today. Welcome to Recipe for Reality, or as we like to call it, the Quneral. Mourning the loss of our great Q on Survivor 50. And Zach could not be here again. It's a busy week for him. We'll be back with the very next episode's recap for sure. We've locked in Zach. But because I don't want to do this alone, I've been having some guests on with me, and this week I have a guest on who felt so apropos for this occasion. I was already going to call Karly regardless as a backup if Zach couldn't make it, but it was just so fitting that we lost our precious Q on Survivor 50 when Karly has gone on the record on this show saying how much she loves him. He was on her fantasy team. So Karly, I'll let you introduce yourself to anyone who hasn't watched this show, and speak your mind. Give us your eulogy, your Q-logy, if you will. I'm so sorry, Karly. I'm so sorry we're
I
meeting on this
know.
occasion.
I'm in mourning. My beautiful Q. Although I will say he went out. Oh my gosh, he went out the only way Q could by asking people to vote him out. So it's very fitting, but I am very sad. Although I'm not too sad because there's no way this is the last time he's on Survivor. There's no chance he won't be invited back. He's gonna be on our screens again. I know it.
Yeah, and I think having new era and old era is kind of a way of celebrating the history of Survivor with 50 seasons. But I think this is really like kind of like how 40 was kind of like the swan song for like Rob and Amber and Parvati and all these like classic winners that probably won't play again on American Survivor. I think 50 is going to be like a send off for your great other figures that didn't win, that might win now, but like Coach, Sari, Ozzy, Aubrey, Colby, and Steph, like all these old school kind of legends that we're probably not going to see again on Survivor. Even though never say never, because these people keep coming back. I didn't think we'd see Sari again after Game Changers and then Big Brother and Traitors, and she's back too. But I think with the new era, especially the way you go out, like Q going out and actually having a really substantial edit, not just being like a forgotten about kind of under edited player. Like right now, if I think like if Charlie or if like Camilla or even a little bit like Jonathan, like if they go out, they didn't really have this huge presence yet on this season, or Tiffany. But if it's someone like, Q, or right now like Genevieve, who's really, really dominating a lot of the strategy and screen time, or even Kyle, who went out the way he went out, like I think these are very big contenders to come back pretty soon, I would say. Because, like,
Yeah.
how many times did Coach play in his 3 years, like, or 3 seasons? He played 3 seasons in, like, 5 years. So I do think it's very likely we'll see Q again. We'll see if she goes out soon, which we'll talk about. Genevieve back on her screens. I know, we got to talk about that, too, because I'm pretty much mourning 2 people now, because I
It
think
was a
all...
bad week for me. Not a good week.
Yeah, Tiffany's Revenge is this episode title, I guess, but we'll talk about that. But I do think we'll see Q again. I don't think, there is a world where, for some reason, because he's an early boot, they don't give him a big edit. Even the way he went out, he kind of got swap screwed, but I'm glad he didn't go out because he got swap screwed, because if Stephanie had gone out, I think Stephanie goes home because she's swap screwed, because they just don't have the numbers, and David versus Goliath, all 3 of them are there. Q went out because he actively played himself out, and I think that's kind of, as Q fans, what we want to expect from Q's downfall in this game, regardless of where it came or when it came. We don't want to see Q go just because him and Stephanie are the only options. It was looking that way for Stephanie, and I think if Stephanie had gone home, it would have been a little easier pill to swallow because we don't love her, but I think we would have also been like, you know what, that's a swap screw, whereas Q wasn't swap screwed, made himself swap screwed, and there's the question of, like, do you think he goes home regardless? Do you think he goes home regardless of if he tells Mike this plan or not? Because it sounded like Ozzy was a tough sell to get to vote for Q, but Q asked Mike to vote for him. So do you think that helped sway Ozzy? Like, what do you think led to Q's boot? Do you think it was him asking Mike? Do you think Mike was going to get him out no matter what? Or do you think it was a little bit of pulling from Emily? Where do you think this fell?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think he was swap screwed, but I do think, I don't know how much room there was for, because part of it is Q is a player too. He's not like this big social player. I mean, he's social. He's not like an awful social player, but I think him in this situation was probably always going to go home just because of the type of player he is.
Yeah.
But I there's definitely players that could have played their way out of his situation, I think.
Yeah, so it's not that he necessarily played himself out of the game. It's just that he didn't play hard enough to save himself from playing himself out of the game. Like, it's really interesting with Q, because really, yeah, I like what you're saying, because he is, by Ozzy's logic, a very smart choice to stay because he's good in challenges. But if you remember, like his tribe, I'm wearing the purple for a reason. They got decimated. They lost Jelinski, they lost Jess, they lost Banu. It was three of them in the merge, the Yanu three. So I don't really know if in this modern age of Survivor, anyone can win a challenge for any reason. The person who's been dominating the most challenges on the season is not Jonathan, it's Camilla with the puzzles. So, like, I don't even think it really matters challenge strength. So then it just becomes a question of, do I want this Angelina in the game who has a lot of allies, yes, but is not as dangerous, or do I want Q who is dangerous? Because he's also in a lot of alliances, and that's the thing I didn't think either of us expected with Q, was that he was actually going to be in a pretty solid position pre-swap. Like, he was in a majority alliance with Genevieve and Colby and all these players that you didn't think you would necessarily get along with, and he was a loyal number, it seemed. It seemed like if that tribe lost, it really was going to be Angelina or Aubrey, unless Aubrey played the idol. But are you impressed with Q's game, despite this, blunder? Sounds like he was going to go home either way, but are you happy with what you got with Q in this small amount of time?
Yes, I am, because
Cool.
he easily could have been the first boot. But like when watching the first episode, I remembered he does not play chaotic. Like he plays chaotic when he's worried, when he thinks things are falling apart.
Mm-hmm.
But like from the start, he's pretty good about like kind of maintaining those. Like he was good with Tiff, with Kenzie. He was good with his tribe in 46 at first. It was as time went on and it got more chaotic, he got more chaotic. Mm-hmm. So I actually am happy that he stuck around for like a few episodes. We got a lot of fun Q content. We got like, oh my gosh, we got him asking someone to vote him out, which is just classic Q. So I did like what we got from Q this episode. I think he was pretty good in the last few episodes too.
Yeah,
I'm glad he got to meet Coach, even though we didn't get what I wanted from that interaction.
I know.
So.
And yeah, like that interaction was so Coach and Ozzy heavy. Like we didn't really get a lot of Q in that. It honestly felt like Q was just kind of there, like not even involved in it until Coach left, and then it was Exile Island. And yeah, I think that's the problem with 50 having so many great players is it's always going to hurt. And I talked about this with Austin and Ingrid last week. It's always going to hurt no matter who we lose, no matter when we lose them, if it's Final 5 or it's Final 25. The problem is, we have so many great players and we want to see all of them interact with everyone. So like honestly, seeing this swap, seeing Mike, Angelina, and Christian on the same tribe together, I'm not saying it's unfair because they just grabbed random buffs, but like we don't really necessarily want to see that. I mean, some people might want to see the reunion because it's fun, but especially because like it doesn't seem like Christian is all that tight with Mike and Angelina. It's really kind of like, oh no, I want to see like Coach and Q play. And I think that's why some people are like, especially the Facebook crowd is excited that like Joe, Colby, and Jonathan all ended up together and Coach. Not Jonathan, Coach did. Jonathan's on another tribe, but like that loyalty alliance.
The honor and integrity alliance.
Yeah, I know. But like you also have like just a few other interactions like Suri and the Riz God I thought was a really funny moment. So I really like that we're getting a lot of these interactions. It's just the problem is because it's still so early in the game and you can't merge, we're not getting those interactions. And it kind of makes sense now why 40 was Edge of Extinction, because how are you going to have all these winners on the tribe and not have Rob and Sandra interact at least once?
Right.
Like I think that's kind of where I kind of miss the Edge. Maybe not as like a come back into the game thing, but maybe it's like, hey, Mr. Beast will give you an extra $50,000 if you decide to stay and be a juror or something. The problem is you have to like stay on this island and you don't get to go to Ponderosa or something like that. That way we can at least get a little bit of them on our screens, but like there's not that element of like someone coming back in the game on the last day like Chris Underwood and winning, or Natalie Anderson and getting second. But it still keeps the players we want to see around to interact with people. That way we don't lose them, because now we don't see Q for the rest of the season. And I feel like that's, I mean, we still have Coach, we still have some big players, Sari, Ozzy, big characters, but I'm like, it just sucks that we, have only 3 episodes with this guy. But yeah, otherwise, like, are you loving the season? I haven't really asked your opinion on the season at large. We talked a little bit off air, but what do you think of the season so far? We've mourned Q, but what are your thoughts on the season so far?
It's so good. I mean, it feels like, because the last few, after 47, the last few seasons start to feel a little bit stale. Like they're okay, but there's just not much outside of Savannah that was dragging me in. And like seeing these old players and the new players and them playing together, it's just, there's such great characters that it's so much fun. Like I loved Emily's little meltdown this episode, where she's just back to old Emily, and then she's like, oh shoot, and now she's not back to old Emily. And like you never would have seen that if she hadn't had that connection with Christian And like it's so much fun to watch that. It's so much
Mhm.
fun to see them all bounce off each other. And I'm really glad we haven't lost anyone heartbreaking yet. We haven't lost a Christian. We haven't lost a Suri.
Yeah.
So
And
like that helps a lot.
yeah, and even then, like I feel like if we were to lose Christian next week, it would be such a big moment because like he is so well protected on that tribe. But we've gotten a lot of foreshadowing that Emily is already distrusting of him for how he messily handled the whole idol information thing. He probably just shouldn't have told her at all. And then if she finds out later, she's still gonna be pissed. But like telling her in the circumstance of like we're swapping right now, it's a lot to spring on your ally last minute, and I think they should have just waited. Maybe he tells her back at camp, hey, I found out this morning, I didn't get a chance to tell you before we swapped, and then if she's mad, just explain it instead of the manner he did it. But what I'm
Mhm.
trying to say is like I think they gave us enough ammunition of like this David vs Goliath 3 is tight, but Emily and Ozzy want to split them up next episode, and Emily's a little mad at Christian, to where if it did happen, I honestly think it would be fitting because he is so like kingpin at the top, kind of in control of everything. I think it would be a very like nice like survivor downfall episode. Even though I love Christian, but I get what you're saying. Like there's so many beloved figures, and like the most beloved haven't gone home yet. We love
Mhm.
Q, but for other reasons, and not necessarily because it's like oh like we love him, we want to see him win. It's just we don't want the chaos and we want the entertainment value.
I
But
want
you're
to see
right.
him win for other reasons.
Right, exactly. But we're not necessarily losing our like heartbreaking votes. Like when Suri goes home, if Suri goes home, that's gonna be a heartbreaker. And for me, like when we finally lose like Angelina and Genevieve, these players that I have been waiting to see back. Genevieve less so than Angelina in terms of timing, but I've been dying to see them both back. That's gonna be heartbreaking to see. Losing Kyle in the way we did was heartbreaking, but again, it's a winner, so like I'm not necessarily as sad to see them go. So I think it's really going to be interesting once those boots happen, how much stronger an emotional effect they'll have, and how the show will edit them. But even if Christian were to go now, like I feel like they've set him up as almost now not the villain, but kind of like the power player that is going to be like the dragon to slay, because there's always like a dragon every season. I feel like like I think of like Omer, where he was such a strategic dominant force, but Marianne was the one who slayed the dragon. And I feel like this could be setting Christian up as that dragon in this game. So I really like what I'm seeing with Christian, but I do agree with what you said with Emily. Just such a fascinating character, just because like she is a very flawed player. Like I don't think she played this week perfectly. Like I think she was a little sloppy with the information she told. But at the end of the day, no one was looking to get rid of her for it. Everyone still wanted her on their side because they wanted her vote, and ultimately she bonded with Angelina really well to where I think she's safe with her, even if she were to want to flip on Mike or Christian or Ozzy, and jump ship with like Stephanie, for example. I think she's covered all her bases well. So it's like playing well and not well at the same time. It's playing messy, but also still making it work out in the end. And I thought it was interesting what Christian said. He was like, I need her. So I'm going to, I'm going to set it aside. I'm going to breathe. We're going to move past this. And I think that's really responsible survivor playing, is not acting on emotion. And we saw last week with Devins and Joe how that doesn't help your game. Joe almost went home because of it. So I think it's really cool to see the inverse where Emily and Christian have this moment, but it's not leading to a downfall breakup moment. It's a reevaluation of, okay, how can we do this better next time? How can we communicate better? What did we do wrong? Do you think Emily made the right choice, though? Do you think Emily and Ozzy, because Emily and Ozzy were kind of the swings, do you think they should have gone with Q and Steph and split up the Dave vs. Goliath 3? Do you think it was smart to join the Dave vs. Goliath 3? Do you think it's smart of Christian to work with Mike and Angelina?
I don't think Emily trusts them is the thing. And you have to work with people you trust. Like even I think that's why she went back to Christian, was like, all right, let's try to work this out, because she realized, shoot, I made an impulsive decision that I shouldn't have. So I do think it was smart for her to go back, especially because it seems like she was right. Christian and her have this bond that even though she messed up, he was pretty quick to forgive her and move on and still want to work with her. Obviously, the best decision would have been to keep your mouth shut from minute one and not to tell literally everyone. But from her position, I think she made the smartest decision. Obviously, I was like, no, go with Q and go with Q. Go with Q, save him. But
we saw Q being like, you know what, Emily, you shared information. You're good with me. But then also Angelina being like, Emily, you showed me information, you're good with me. And maybe that's Emily's game of just like, it's the Sandra thing of like, anyone but me. I'm giving you all the information so you can get mad at everyone else. I'm just the messenger. Don't shoot the messenger. Sometimes that works, sometimes it doesn't. I'm curious to see if it'll work. I think Emily right now it could go 50-50. She could be the winner of the season, and her whole game is based on creating chaos around her, and that's a really cool story. Or she could be an early flameout that goes next or goes early in the next few episodes before this merge, and then we're left being like, damn, she just played too hard too fast. But at least she played hard, you know? And I think that's what I respect the most, is that she's playing hard. The question now is just like, now that the numbers are shaking out the way they are, it's Stephanie versus everyone else. Now, do you think Ozzy and Emily flip back and then try to go against the Dave vs. Goliath 3 now that they've only got 3 votes? Or do you think they try to pull Christian with them? Do you think they try to pull Mike and Angelina to go against Christian and Emily maybe? This is where I'm most fascinated, because now it's interesting. Because now I think you can't let them go another round with this trio, because this trio is only going to get stronger the longer you keep them together. But the problem is Stephanie doesn't really have much power right now. It's really in still Emily and Ozzy's hands. And I thought it was interesting that Emily and Ozzy were such a swing vote position, because the past 2 weeks Emily's been trying to get out Ozzy. So now it's like, oh, now Emily has to work with Ozzy because they realize they're in the middle of it all. What do you think is the move going forward for this tribe specifically, and how do you think it's going to shake out should they go to tribal?
It's so hard because there's so many different ways it can go. Because obviously they all stuck together. They voted out Q. I understand why they all made that decision. I have no clue what they're gonna do next, though. Like, they might, because now they're in a tough decision, because if they try to stick with the David versus Goliath 3, like, Emily and Ozzy are out the numbers. I don't think they'll go to 3 tribals where that'll matter as much, but that's got to be something they're thinking about.
Yeah.
So,
because if you get out Steph, if you get out Steph, then it's Emily and Ozzy versus the Goliath.
Yeah.
3, you know. So. Yeah.
So I don't know. It could go so many ways. And we'll see, and we'll see if they lose again. I mean, usually you lose again. That's been happening a lot, but
yeah,
I don't know. For all we know, maybe they win, and one of the other tribes goes to tribal.
Mm-hmm. If you are, let's say Emily and Ozzy, let's say Ozzy he can't use his idol on Stephanie, but let's say for some reason the Dave vs. Goliath 3 are wanting to get rid of Ozzy, and Emily, Ozzy, and Stephanie do come together and have the power to get rid of one of the other 3. Who of that 3 do you think is the most dangerous? Obviously, Christian is the most dangerous, just objectively, just because he's so well connected, has so many allies. But like, and I don't even want to say objectively, it's Survivor, but you know what I mean. Like, right now, based on the edit, we're seeing Christian as the power player. But of that 3, who do you think, like, if you were in their position, who would you target as Karly? Just like, who do you think is the most dangerous? Is it Angelina? Because Angelina's the one who's being targeted, but I think she's the least dangerous of the 3.
Yeah, I think she's a GOAT. Like, I don't think they're very threatened by her, but they were also talking about how she's not doing anything at camp. So it could just be, if they get to the point where they're targeting one of them, it could just be that Angelina's an easy vote because she's not doing anything, and she's got I don't know. I don't know. It's so much fun. All the different scenarios, like literally any one of those 5 but Christian could go home, and I would be like, nope, I understand. I see why that happened, because there's just so many paths and so many ways they could go with it. So
yeah. And we see these like little foreshadowings. Like, they did have a moment where Emily was mad at Christian and Rick. And we also saw Christian and Rick plant that fake idol that I think they're gonna all 3 make it to the merge, just because I think they're really hyping up this storyline. But then when they get to the merge, I think it would be very interesting, because I think Emily right now doesn't have complete trust in Christian and Rick. And I love the confessional where she was like, I want to play my game, and I'm not here to play Christian's game. We're real life friends, but like, everyone here is friends with each other. We're all Survivor alums. And I really like that idea of like, you don't have to just align with someone because you're friends. Mike said something really interesting as well, though, is like, I just can't, this first vote, I can't vote Angelina or Christian. It just like, I didn't have anyone else I swapped over with, and they're what I have. So like, I think that was also respectful how he told Stephanie straight up, and I know he was lying to her, but he was like, I'm voting for you just because like, I just cannot, vote against these people. But now that they've gone through a vote, do you think there's a world where Mike or Christian, because right now I think Angelina and Mike are fine, because they went to the final 3 together, but Christian is kind of the outlier, because Christian I think is closer to Emily than he is Mike and Angelina. Do you think there's a world where we see Mike and Christian kind of butt heads? Because we did see Mike get interrupted by Christian at Tribal Council trying to tell an analogy. Do you think that's foreshadowing, or do you think that was just a funny moment for Tribal that they wanted to show?
It could go either way. Like, I could easily see it being either, but I could definitely see them bumping heads a bit more. I mean, because Christian he's such the main character of the season, and he's like really like he's milking the fact that he's the main character too. Like you can tell he's like and not in a negative way. He's having fun with it,
Yeah.
and he's like pushing it, and he's just
Hmm.
being just having the time of his life. Like
Yeah.
not modulating too much, just like having fun, full out playing Survivor.
Hmm.
Um, yeah. So I don't
Yeah,
know.
I think that's interesting you say that too, because it's like because he knows he's the main character because probably he knows him and Ozzy and Emily have gone to every tribal, so he knows they're probably the most visible people on the season right now. He also knows that he has been dictating a lot of the votes. He also knows that him and Rick had that idol thing. He also knows that he found the idol and sent it to Aubrey, so he knows that just based on circumstances, he's getting the screen time, and he's a good confessionalist. So I think with Christian, like I think the problem with Christian is that he knows he's getting a lot of screen time just based on what the game is doing right now and the situation he's in. Like if he kept winning challenges, he might not be on screen as much and he might know that.
Mhm.
But the fact that he knows he's going to be on screen a lot because they've been going to tribal every single week, he's also the one who blew the challenge for them. You know, he knows he's getting the screen time. Do you think that almost gives you a little bit of an ego boost in a bad way where like he might feel like he has to make a move just because he's the main character and he wants to play more chaotic and more like bold than play it safe? Because I could also see a world where he does lose this majority because Stephanie's the easy vote, but he doesn't want to give them good TV. He wants to give them good TV. Do you
Mhm.
think that has anything to do with any of the player strategies this season? Because like Mike White even said in an interview postseason, he was like everyone out there was kind of playing into their character types and like playing like they were returnees in a good way and a bad way. I mean, obviously,
Mhm.
it's good because you got the call. You know, you want to milk the screen time. You want to be featured on the 50th season. But at the same time, I think that could also hurt you because now you want the screen time. You're going to try to make these big, flashy moves. Like Devin's hiding a fake idol at Tribal. Cool
Mhm.
move, but it could come back to slap him in the face and bite him. You know, do you think there's a danger to potentially overplaying because you know you're the main character? And I'm
Yeah.
just
I
asking
well
in
and
general because Christian is a specific, but in general, like if Rizzo keeps losing, will he start to get the main character energy like he did last season?
mhm.
You know what I mean?
And I can Christian's the type of personality that I could see like not thinking too far ahead. Like he thinks far ahead, but I could see him just, really milking where he is in Survivor and knowing it might not last for very long. So like being willing to take the big swing. Like he's gonna think about where it positions him in the game. But I think there could be a little bit of sightedness with him,
Mm-hmm.
just because I mean I don't know if he would be invited to play with Survivor a third time necessarily.
Yeah,
I
it
mean, he
depends.
might, but like he's like it's not like someone like Q or one of the newer era people. Where I'm like, yeah, they're definitely gonna play again if they're entertaining enough because he is one of the older players. So I could see this potentially being his only shot, and I could see him thinking that and being like, well, might as well give it my all, even if
Yeah.
it doesn't work out.
Yeah, and because it took so long to come back, like I think he became a doctor, so he couldn't come back right away. And then for Survivor 40, which was just 4 seasons later, it was all winners, so like he wasn't gonna come back anyway. And then
Mhm.
by the time that was over, it was COVID, and then it was all new era. Like he hasn't had the opportunity to come back.
Mhm.
So who knows if he'll have another opportunity? Like if the next season of returnees is second chances, Kirsten doesn't fit that bill. If it's like fans versus favorites, yeah, he could come back. But if it's like new era all stars, he can't come back. So it
Mhm.
really is going to be interesting to see, yeah, like what some of these players, not just Christian, but like I'm thinking, not really like Colby or Coach or
Mhm.
Steph, these really old school players, but like Aubrey or like
Right.
Angelina or Mike, like what do they do? Or Devins, like do they play it
Mhm.
up a little bit too much because they know this could be their last time? And does that bite them? You know, does that playing bigger versus playing smarter? Also, because Jeff wants them to play bigger, but sometimes
Mhm.
bigger is not better, and I think that's kind of why I like the game that like Suri and Colby, even Jonathan are playing, where they're naming names and they're orchestrating chaos, but in a way that actually feels justified and doesn't feel a little too flashy to where like
Mhm.
I don't think they're the main characters, but I think that's a good thing. I don't think you want to be a main character this early, because eventually you're probably gonna run out of steam unless you're Jam Jam or Marianne. You're probably
Yeah.
not gonna make it to the end if you're
Well, that's what
so
got Jenna because she was
visible.
just throwing out names immediately, playing hard,
Yeah.
and it turned in bitter.
Yeah. Yeah, so I'm interested to see what happens with Christian because I do love him, but this was the first episode where I was getting not Christian fatigue, but I was kind of like, "Oh, I'm worried he's playing a little too hard right now. I'm worried he's doing a
Mhm.
little too much, especially the whole like whispering before passing that." Do you think that was smart to like whisper to her as the swap happened or just let it go and tell her later or just not let her know at all?
I don't think it was stupid, but I
Mhm.
don't. I mean, I could easily rationalize that. Like, I don't know if I would call it smart or stupid. I think it makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
But because, like, you don't want her to be like, what if she tries to go after Aubrey and she idles herself out? Like,
Right.
I could see him wanting to make sure that doesn't happen.
Yeah.
And also, he probably didn't think she'd freak out and tell everyone either. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I think he probably thought she was a cooler headed game player than that. So I think it was probably the right decision. But I mean, it's so hard when you just can't find the time to talk to her and tell her in advance. And then,
Mm-hmm.
of course, she's like, what the heck? Why didn't you tell me? And it's
Yeah.
a whole complicated thing.
Yeah, well, let's talk about Aubrey with that idol, because if we look at that new Kahlo tribe, it looks like the big storylines, there's three big ones. One being Chrissy finding out that she was hated, kind of having this redemption moment. I actually really liked it as someone who didn't love Chrissy on her first season, didn't love her in these first few episodes, but now kind of understanding her mindset, I think really humanizes her and makes her a nicer character. That's one of the storylines. What do you think of that moment? Did you like that moment with Chrissy?
Yeah, I liked it. I also thought it was really funny how Coach was like, I'm gonna build a connection with Chrissy, and he made her cry. I'm like, geez, Coach,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
I know that wasn't your intent. And then he made her cry to the women that he didn't want her to align with. I was
Yeah.
like, oh, I love watching Coach play. It's so much fun.
Yeah, and I get what he was trying to do, because it is like she was gonna go home, and if my ally is gonna go home and I want her as a number, I gotta tell her, hey, you were being targeted for this. I think there was probably a better way to say it, but honestly,
Mhm.
what he was doing, I think, made sense, because you want to let your ally know, hey, if you do what you did on the last tribe, they're gonna want to vote you out, and I can't do anything to help you. So we
Mhm.
need to figure this out. And I don't think it's really telling her that she's annoying as much as it is she annoyed other people, because obviously he's not annoyed by it because he wanted her around. So
Mhm.
I get what he's doing. It's just really funny that it's Coach doing it. It's like Coach, and he even says like, I'm gonna coach Chrissy. I'm like, oh boy. And it's funny because like this is exactly what Tyson did to him on Heroes vs Villains. It was like, don't wear feathers in your hair, don't tell stories, don't do this, and he's kind of telling Chrissy exactly what he did. It's a fun full circle moment, because Coach has also
Mhm.
kind of been getting dunked on, just like he has been kind of trolled in this season. I don't think he has winner potential anymore, like I might have preseason, just because I thought he'd come into the game and make a lot of allies, and he is. I mean, that's the second story we have to talk about with this tribe, is this new honor and integrity alliance. The thing is, Coach is well positioned. It's just I don't think he's getting enough respect as a player. I don't think it's like South Pacific where everyone's just blindly following Coach. I just think they see him as another loyal number, and I think they think he's a little bit of a joke. And I don't know if this is
Mhm.
Coach's season, but he does have a good alliance right now. It seems like Chrissy's okay. It looks like he's with Joe, Colby. What do you think of this new honor and integrity alliance?
I hate it. Also, but it's so funny that Colby and Joe are like honor integrity. I'm gonna align with Coach, who
Hmm.
is who preaches honor integrity. But if you've watched like 10 minutes of his gameplay, you're gonna be like, but no, that's not no.
Yeah.
He voted Ozzy out at the end when he said, "Oh, I'm not going to," and then he's not. I mean, he's loyal to people he can beat. He is not loyal to people, but maybe he thinks he can beat Colby and Joe, so maybe he would be loyal to them towards the
Yeah.
end. But
Yeah, I mean
yeah,
he's a
it's just
loyal
so funny to
player.
me.
Yeah, I think you said it best. He's a loyal player, but he's loyal because that's how he gets far in the game. It's selfish. It's a selfish
Mhm.
loyalty in the sense of like, if I have this loyalty thing and everyone feels indebted to me and like they can't turn on me, then I have a ticket. And then at the end, that's when you have to start cutting ties. That's the thing. He's always loyal to a point. And then once he needs to play more selfishly, he does. And that's what happened with South Pacific. He was loyal, but then at the end, he stabs some backs, because you can't be loyal to 6 people at once. You can once you get to Final Six, but then once you get to Final Six, you're going to have to cut ties. And I think that's his problem, is he's loyal in the tribe phase. And his first time playing, and second time playing even with like Boston Rob and stuff, it worked because he was voted out and didn't need to worry about being the guy to cut those ties. It was the fact that like the third time he played the loyal game, but then ended up playing a real survivor game in the finale, but then didn't own that game. So do
Mhm.
you think his whole approach, let's say this is the final four, let's say they're able to like also
Don't
connect with
put that
like,
out there.
but let's say they're also able to connect with like Jonathan and Dee, and I don't think Dee would be part of this, but like Jonathan and Dee, just because they're working together, and then like let's say Steph, because she's alone, and what if she gets to the merge?
Mhm.
Like if it's all these loyal old school players, Colby has Steph, and then you have all these loyal honor integrity people. Let's say they make it to the end. Does Coach follow through and just like let the others pick themselves off? Do you think he would then kind of play a more South Pacific game? Because we're getting kind of an old like grandpa like cool coach at times, but at times there's that sliver of the real old coach that we know and love to hate. So I'm curious, what do you think his overall goal is with this whole loyalty, honor, and integrity? Because only 3 people can sit in the end.
Yeah. I think if it's just those three, then it'll be fine because
Mm-hmm.
I think he thinks he can beat Colby and Joe, and I don't think that's a bad assumption on his part. Like I don't think either of those two would easily beat him,
Mm-hmm.
especially Joe, who we've seen screw
Right.
up a final tribal.
Yeah, I think Joe is more likely to beat, but Colby's kind of interesting because he's the oldest player
Yeah,
there right now.
he's
Jenna's
yeah.
Jenna's gone. He has a story. People like him. He's
Mhm.
making the bonds with the younger people like Rizzo. Like I think Colby has a better case than people
Yeah,
realize.
but I
I
don't
really
think
do.
it would be an obvious, yeah, Colby wins for
Mm-hmm.
sure. I think it would be closer.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, if you add in more people, then I think coach would let them eat each other, I think. Like as long as it meant he could keep going, but if he gets to a point where he's not liking the outlook, not liking whose names are coming up, yeah, he's coach. He's gonna play selfishly the second he thinks he needs to.
And here's the thing: he still has to vote at the end of the day. He's not gonna. He has to vote someone out. So that's the whole thing with Survivor is like you can hide, but like unless you lose your vote, maybe he purposely tries to lose his vote so he doesn't have to vote, or maybe he does like it just like does the alphabet thing that they did on Borneo with Sean Kniff, where it's like I'll just go to vote for Colby because he's the first in the alphabet, and then I'll vote for Charlie. Actually, Charlie would come first, but I don't know. Yeah, I'm interested to see how many of his like loyal conglomerates, because he was loyal with Jonathan, loyal with Charlie, and then Colby was loyal with Steph. Joe, we didn't really see much loyalty with Joe, so I'm really interested to see who makes the merge and if that alliance grows or if they're able to nip it in the bud before they get there. Because the problem is the target right now is not Joe, it's not Colby, it's not Coach, it's
Mm-hmm.
Aubrey and it's Genevieve. And it looks like Genevieve has the numbers, but the problem is Aubrey has the idol. And who is playing spy right now? Tiffany, your girl Tiffany. How do you feel about this, being a Genevieve fan, but also having Tiffany as a winner pick, and then also being a Q fan and knowing that Tiffany also had her thing with Q? Like, are you loving Tiffany? Are you hating what Tiffany's doing right now? Because I love Tiffany, but I'm very frustrated because I love Genevieve as well. How do you feel about
Yeah.
this whole idol thing?
Yeah, and our other Survivor friends are much more Aubrey fans,
Yeah,
so
and that's the thing.
yeah.
That's why Aubrey, and I think was it you who said it in the chat we had, where it's like the reason Aubrey and Genevieve aren't getting along is because they're very similar, and that's
I
just
didn't
like
say that, but that's a very
yeah.
good point. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I no longer think Tiffany's gonna win because I believe she has had a zero confessional episode,
Yeah,
or
yeah, she
at
wasn't
least
in
very
episode 2.
close to it.
Yeah,
So,
she was zero
um,
confessionals episode 2. Yeah.
yeah, the edit's not yelling winner to me. So like I'm good. I'm more neutral on her at the moment, but like there's no other way. If they go to tribal, my girl Jen, she's screwed. Like I can't think of any other way this plays out other than Ozzy gets voted out this week and she gets that boomerang idol back in her pocket, which I
I
wouldn't love
hope
because I
so.
love Ozzy this season.
Yeah, Ozzy's
But
great.
if that happened, that would be so
The
crazy.
problem is Ozzy going out also weakens Cerie's game because Cerie needs Ozzy.
Yeah, that
What I
too.
hope, I hope, I'm thinking like somewhere in the middle. I hope Ozzy finds another boomerang idol and sends it to Genevieve. Or wait, which tribe? Oh shoot, Kalo's the tribe that hasn't found one yet, so no one can send it to Genevieve. Shoot. Okay, never mind. My point is null and void. But either way, I just hope there's a world where they just keep waiting because I really don't want to see Genevieve have to go this early because I think Genevieve's playing a really good game. If Aubrey doesn't have an idol, because Aubrey didn't find an idol, she was given an idol, and I'm not to downplay Aubrey. Aubrey had to make a bond, had to make an impression on Christian to get that idol. Christian chose Aubrey. Aubrey did something right to get Christian to choose her. I'm not downplaying Aubrey's game, but Aubrey didn't find that idol. Christian gave it to her. And now Genevieve, who did find an idol but couldn't keep it, now has to suffer potentially if they go to tribal because Aubrey's going to idol her out. But there's also the question of like, well, she should have sent it to someone who would get voted out with the idol, and Ozzy's not getting voted out. Like, why would you give it to a challenge beast? Why not give it to another winner? Like, in my brain, and this is not to say Genevieve made the wrong move to give it to Ozzy, but if I'm going to give an idol out, I'm going to say, you know what? I want to give it to Savannah because there's a good chance she'll be targeted early. Or I'm going to give it to Rizzo because no one knows who Rizzo is. Rizzo's probably going to go home early. Or I'm going to give it to D.
And
'Cause
Rizzo wouldn't play it.
right, but exactly. D's a winner who's probably going to get voted out early. I think how I would think about this idol thing if not to build loyalty, because that's what Aubrey and that's what Christian did with Aubrey, is to build loyalty.
Mhm.
I would give it to someone who I think is going to flame out pretty hard. I would give it to Q, because Q is either going to play it or he's not, and he's going to go home with an idol in his pocket. If you given
Mhm.
it to Q, Q goes home this week with an idol in his pocket. You get it back. Genevieve couldn't give it to Q because they were on the same starting tribe, but I think there are other ways to game this idol. And now in retrospect, I think giving it to Ozzy was probably not the best move because I don't think Ozzy's going to go home anytime soon.
Mhm.
Um, so I would have gifted it to someone who has a more likelihood of just getting targeted and going home early. But maybe she thought that Ozzy would be targeted, and he's gone home with an idol in his pocket before. So I can't fault Genevieve. But you think this ends with Genevieve getting idled out
I
by
don't
Aubrey?
know. How are you reading the edit for Aubrey and Genevieve? Do you think Genevieve? Do you think Aubrey comes out on top of their little competition?
Um, Based on the edit, I think Aubrey's coming out on top just because I do think every time they're like Genevieve, 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 like the first episode, they were like Genevieve's making all these lines is she's got a lot of people in her corner, and then cut to her with Aubrey, and it's immediately like I don't have a good vibe on you. And then this episode, it's like Genevieve's telling everyone about Aubrey, and then
Yeah.
immediate cut to Tiffany telling Aubrey. I think Tiffany's the big key in this because if Tiffany wasn't there to warn Aubrey, there's a chance Aubrey goes home with that idol in her pocket and Christian gets it. There's also a chance that like she just doesn't you know doesn't know Genevieve's coming after her and plays the idol, but then doesn't know to target Genevieve. The problem is Tiffany
Mhm.
told Aubrey that Genevieve was targeting her. Aubrey has an idol; she can only play for herself. It just makes all the sense in the world,
Yeah.
unless somehow someone else like Joe or like Coach is able to sniff it out and then go back to Genevieve and say, hey, let's split the votes between Tiffany and Aubrey. That's why I don't think
Mhm.
Tiffany's completely clean in this either. Because here's the thing: when you are not involved and you put yourself in the mess, in between the mess,
Mhm.
you then become someone that has eyes on them. You could have done nothing, but the fact that she did something because she wants to be friends with Aubrey and be allies with Aubrey, the problem is
Mhm.
if everyone else catches wind, perhaps, that you're working with Aubrey and that you're tipping her off on this, and they split the votes. I know Colby doesn't have a vote, but it doesn't really look great if they decide to split the votes. You could be collateral damage, and I think that's the thing is if Aubrey and Tiffany vote for Genevieve and the other, I think it's 5 players, they don't have Colby's vote, but 2 people go on Aubrey, 2 people go on Tiffany. That's a 2-2-2 split, and then when they revote and Aubrey plays the idol, then it's Genevieve and Tiff, and they all vote Tiffany. You know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
that's not
Yeah.
looking great. Or they just put all their votes on Tiffany because Aubrey can't play the idol on Tiffany. That's another
Mhm.
wrench in the plan too. She can't play it on Tiffany.
Oh, that's
So
true. Yeah.
so they could all just pile on Tiffany and say, you know what, let Aubrey waste her vote and let's go for Tiffany. I think that's a very likely scenario because also Tiffany's
Mhm.
edit is lesser than Aubrey's and Genevieve's. So I think there
Right.
could be a world where they just all go for Tiffany because hey, Aubrey has an idol. We don't want to get idled out, so let's all just put our votes on Tiff and we'll be fine. The question
Yeah,
is,
that
do they
that would
sniff
make
out?
sense because
Yeah, do
like
they sniff
Tiff's
out that Tiff goes against
Tiff's
them?
edit
That's the question.
is so minuscule that I
Hmm.
could see her getting screwed by an idol. Like
Yeah.
that would, and I'm not just saying that because it means Genevieve stays around a little bit
Yeah.
longer, but
Because for your glory and pride, I mean, she is your winner pick, so you kind of want to see Tiffany go far. But also, here's another thing too: is like every time they end one of these segments, like this segment especially, it was like Genevieve kind of sitting there like a villain. Genevieve's definitely not like the hero in this sense. They're trying to
Mhm.
prop up Aubrey as the underdog. But the thing is, like, I think it can be like a Rachel Genevieve thing where they're both in the game for a while and they just keep trying to get
Mhm.
each other, and then at the very end, one of them gets got. But it could just come at the first chance they get. And I think
Right.
the safe bet is to, like, if you're doing like a power ranking, is to probably put Genevieve at the bottom. But I
Mhm.
just hope there's a world where someone can sniff it out and someone can say, you know what, Tiff's acting a little weird. Let's just put all our votes on Tiff. Aubrey can play her idol, flush it. And if Aubrey doesn't play her idol, then Genevieve gets got next week, and there's nothing you can do.
Right.
But I do think, and I hope Genevieve's a savvy enough player to figure that out. The problem is,
Mhm.
I don't know if Joe, Colby, and Coach and Chrissy, like, I really just don't know if they're gonna be able to like rally behind that. I just don't
Well,
know.
and
I
if
don't know.
Aubrey's smart, then she tells Tiffany. If Aubrey's smart. She doesn't tell anyone about the idol, and she just vote Genevieve off. Like there's not a lot of room for them to sniff out that she has an idol, especially because
True,
she's a smart game player. She's not the type to blab around about an idol to a bunch of people.
true.
So
And if you're like Chrissy, who had like this big come to Jesus moment, like you could see if Aubrey and Tiffany are like, hey, would you be down to vote Genevieve? I could see a world where Chrissy's like, yeah, it's not me. Of course I'm down to vote Genevieve.
mhm.
And if Chrissy does, so is Coach. And if Coach does, so is Joe. And then I mean, like, as much as Genevieve is well liked with Colby, Colby doesn't have a vote. So really, this could be a unanimous Genevieve vote with or without an idol. And that's the saddest part. Aubrey could waste the idol just to be safe, but then, like, they could just vote out Genevieve and it'd be a clean Genevieve vote at this point, because all it has to take is, like, Aubrey getting in some ears, Tiffany getting in some ears. Especially, like you said, if Aubrey doesn't tell anyone about her idol, they're going to have to do it the old-fashioned way, which is how Survivor used to be played anyway. So I'll
Yeah.
be excited to see if Aubrey can pull it off. Like, the thing with Aubrey is just, I feel like, for such a big iconic character, I feel like every time we've seen her, she's gotten less and less screen time. Like Game Changers, she made Final Five, and I feel like she was not one of like the top 10 most
Mhm.
present characters on that season. She goes out early on Edge of Extinction, but then when she goes out, we don't really see her a lot on the Edge, even though she's on that season the whole season. And then this season, like I feel like for getting an idol, it feels like the only scenes she's had have to do with her idol, and that's just something that you can't control just because it is like she's
Yeah.
the idol. Like you have to show that footage. But I was just hoping for a little bit more with Aubrey. But again, a lot of people have high Aubrey stock. A lot of people are talking about Aubrey as a potential winner. I haven't seen it yet. Just
Mhm.
because I just and another thing is just like I personally love Genevieve so much. Maybe that's what's clouding my judgment. But I just
Right.
haven't yet been able to like be like, yeah, Aubrey. Even the moment with Christian, it felt like Christian was helping Aubrey, not Aubrey doing something on her own to overcome. But
Mhm.
as we see with Aubrey, with her first season, she did fumble early and she kind of came back
Yeah.
phoenix from the ashes and rose up at the end. And if that's kind of Aubrey's trajectory here, as much as it sucks, like if she's able to get out Genevieve and then kind of take over and take control of the game, then like I'd love to see it. I just want to see, I want to see Aubrey have fun. And I feel like Aubrey's just not having fun yet, and it makes me sad.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm not getting a very positive edit from Aubrey either. So I mean, we'll see how it plays out.
Yeah.
And like if Genevieve and her both stick around to fight it out a little bit more, I would be so happy with that. I
Mhm.
just don't want to see them. I just don't want to see Genevieve go home so early is the
Yeah.
biggest thing.
I think the problem,
Even if she loses, like it's fine. I just don't want to see her gone so quickly. And
yeah.
not just because she's on my fantasy team.
Yeah, no, and that's the thing. Like, she's my favorite player of the new era, so I just want to see her survive, just to see what she can do. But here's the thing: like, Aubrey, Tiffany, Genevieve, Chrissy, like those are four strategic women who are really good at the game. They could just all come together and get rid of the guys and say, screw this loyalty, honor, integrity thing. And if they don't, I blame Chrissy a little bit for that, and I hope not.
Mhm.
But like, I think Chrissy's going to be the hardest one to budge. But even with Colby not having a vote, they could make something happen with the three of them. I just think Genevieve and Aubrey are such oil and water, not able to work
Yeah.
with each other, and it doesn't sound like Tiffany wants to work with Jen either. So it's just really sad, because I hope there was a perfect world where like they could just come together and get out those guys. Because I think the most boring outcome is that the guys just make it to the end, the three of them with Chrissy.
Yeah.
And I don't want to lose these big characters like Genevieve or Aubrey or
Yeah.
Tiffany.
Although I don't
Service to
think
them.
players like Christian or Suri or our other favorites are gonna let that happen.
True.
I can't.
Rizzo.
I think the second they hear about honor integrity alliance, they'll be like, oh no way. Nope.
Yeah.
Shutting this down.
Yeah, because like Rick Devens, not about Joe right now. So let's move to that tribe though, because Suri and Rick are on the outs. They're the two on the outs. Rizzo's also on the outs. He doesn't have anyone. And then you have this conglomerate of Jonathan, Camilla, Charlie, and Dee. It looks like Jonathan and Dee are talking about targeting Suri, but Suri, Dee says it. She's like, she is so charming. I love Suri. And I wonder if that's a little bit of foreshadowing that Dee is going to get got by Suri very soon, and she's going to regret it. And her and Jonathan are going to be like, damn, we should have taken her out earlier. But also we see this other rivalry brewing that we had no idea was coming. We thought they'd be friends, but really Charlie and Rizzo are beefing, and Rizzo doesn't even know it. So what do you make of this whole Charlie Rizzo moment?
Losing my mind over Charlie's PTSD from Maria. And it's so funny because Rizzo voted for his number one. Savannah was his number one. So by trying to lower his threat level, he has made an enemy. It's just, I mean, I knew Charlie would be cautious about this type of thing, but the fact that he's having full on trauma flashbacks is just and God bless Rizzo for asking about Maria. Like that's just the messy thing that I would want to do, but would never do if I was on
Yeah.
Survivor.
And the question wasn't even like who was your like number one, more so did you have a bestie? And he said Sophie Bilardi was my bestie, and I think that's true. Seeing them in the real world interact, the three of them are thick as thieves. They're three best friends, and I just think Rizzo probably just thinks Sophie is like his best friend of that season. But you don't always vote for your best friend. The thing with
Mhm.
Maria and Charlie is they were number one allies, not just best
Yeah.
friends. And I think that's kind of the distinction that Charlie's not realizing. And I even had like Dan Skip Allen, shout out, message me. He was like, why would Rizzo lie? I don't think Rizzo even lied. I don't think Rizzo,
Mm.
maybe he did. Maybe it was a strategic thing to be like, I wasn't close with Savannah. But I also think like, there's a world where he just genuinely was like, no, Sophie's the best friend I made out there, but Savannah was my number one, so I voted for her. But he didn't explain that thoroughly enough. So I
Right.
do see the pro and con of that. But like, he was very close with Sophie. He wasn't lying about that. And he was very proud of her. It's just he voted for Savannah because she played the best game. What I don't like though is it's like, yes, you're allowed to act emotionally. That's all what Survivor is. But really, like when you're in a game where you need to like take anything that's given to you and someone's offering an alliance and literally saying like I want to work with you and here's
Mhm.
information, I would just be like, you know what, that pissed me off, but like at the same time he's thinking it's kind of the opposite of Christian where you think he's so like nearsighted. Charlie's thinking so far down the line that he's like, I don't want Rizzo getting a jury seat.
Mhm.
Like bro, like then you know what you should do, bring him to the final three, bring Rizzo to the end and beat him, or you know what, bring
Mhm.
bring Rizzo at least a round or two. Like the problem is he's cutting off this relationship with Rizzo just because he's being petty, lack of a better term, because that's the winner who beat him was Kenzie Petty. But he's being petty about the fact that like this out of game kind of connection is making its
Mhm.
way into this season. Like I think Charlie's gonna lose the game because of this. I think it made
Yeah.
Rizzo look a little bit worse in the moment with the edit, but I think just the fact that Rizzo was also the one who propped up Charlie in the confessional and Charlie didn't get to talk about it himself in the confessional from an editing standpoint, I think is really bad. Like I think Charlie right now, he was so invisible the first two episodes, and then we finally get content from him, and it's him being pouty about this thing, which rightfully so,
Mhm.
whatever, feel how you're gonna feel. But then Rizzo's the one who's basically like, this season's about redemption for Charlie. I'm like, why is Rizzo telling us this? Let Charlie tell us this. I think Charlie is
Mhm.
the number one most likely not to win of the season, just because I think his edit has been crap, and
Yeah.
all the good stuff he's gotten has been told to us from Rizzo.
Yeah.
Do you think Charlie is like kind of this could be a repeat losing finalist, or do you think Charlie's like getting going home sooner than we expect?
I'm not sure. I think I would lean more towards losing finalists just because like he's thinking so far ahead, but he's playing scared like in that way. Like he's
Mm-hmm.
terrified of wow. It's like Eric after he gave up the necklace. It's like he's scared to play hard. He's scared to do a certain thing because he's like, I don't want to be embarrassed again. I don't want to. I don't want a repeat of everything I did wrong just blowing up in my face. So he's like thinking way too hard when he should just be playing and letting and thinking about what moves he needs to make. He's just
Mm-hmm.
you can tell he's like so affected and like the last thing he wants is to lose again at the final three, but you're not even at the merge yet. You have to focus on like what's right in front of you.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. Now the thing is though, they do have the majority if they really want it. D, Jonathan, Camilla, and Charlie. Camilla, we're really not getting a lot of this season yet either. Do you think they accomplish their goal of getting out Suri? Do you think Charlie blows this up because he goes after Rizzo? Do you think it seems like Rizzo and Suri are the two big names right now? And we got a little bit of D before the swap, but
Mm.
we don't. I think what's interesting is we didn't really hear what Suri and Devins want yet. We don't really know who their target is. I assume it would be D. I don't think we heard it though. Who do you
Mhm.
think? Who do you think? First of all, who do you think Rizgod, Devins, and Suri want to target? If they come together or just individually, and then who do you think goes home in a scenario where they go to tribal?
The fact that we haven't heard from them makes me think it's definitely not going to be Suri going home because it's like it feels like the type of conversation oh you hear before they even go to the challenge where it's like
Mm-hmm.
oh let's target this person and because it was just thrown out there like oh that's probably not going to happen. They're just kind of throwing seeds out there to be like oh yeah maybe we'll target this person. That makes me think if Suri goes she's not going first, but I don't really know who they would target. Remind me who's on the tribe again? Opposite
So
three.
it's Devins and Suri, it's Rizzo, and then you've got the four of Camilla, D, Jonathan, and Charlie. Now, what's interesting is like Camilla and D were working together. I don't know if Jonathan and Charlie are working together. This is the loosest alliance because they were all in the same
Right.
tribe together, but none of them were really working super tight, except for like Dee and Camilla, and we didn't really get any moments of Dee and Camilla this
Mhm.
episode. So I think this is a alliance of four that you could definitely find cracks in, but it's also an alliance of four that I could see them just being like, you know what, let's all just vote together for either Rizzo or Suri. It seems. I don't think Rick Devens is getting a lot of heat right now, but like it seems like Suri and Rizzo are the names on the table. It seems like Jonathan and Dee want Suri. It seems like Charlie wants Rizzo. We don't know what Camilla wants, and we don't know what Riz God, Suri, or Devens want. We only know Suri and Riz God's names are out there.
Yeah, it feels like a tribe that's not going to tribal anytime soon, too.
True.
Like, they have Jonathan and Camilla. That's
True.
literally all you need to win any challenge in the new era. So it kind of feels like they're floating out general connections that we can read into a little bit. But the fact that we're not getting anything concrete about the dynamics or anything is making me think that it's not something we have to worry about right now.
Yeah,
That
that's a good
it's
point.
like this tribe could maybe make the merge, honestly, if they don't
All
do another
together.
swap.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and maybe they're planting the seeds for like maybe the mergatory boot comes down between like Rizzo and Charlie, and this is kind
Mhm.
of setting up that, or we see like Dee go out as the merge boot, and it's because she never took the shot at Suri because she couldn't, and then the first chance she gets, Suri links up with Ozzy and them. Yeah, maybe that's it. Because right now, I do think I agree with you. I think if Suri were to be the boot on that tribe, we wouldn't just get Jonathan and Dee being like, watch out for her, she's tough, and then the next episode she goes home. Like it just feels like they would give us a little bit more suspense, a little bit more of an
Mhm.
alternate perspective. My only worry is that yes, we got a lot of Suri talking about her tribe of like, oh, the Riz God and all this stuff, but I don't think we're getting a lot of strategic thoughts from Suri on the tribe yet. But again, like you said, it could just be because they're not losing anytime soon and they don't want to waste the time yet. Because also it could be maybe they're planning some big blindside. Maybe she gets out Jonathan and they're kind of saving that. You know, they're kind of
Mhm.
saving that moment to make it a delicious blindside when it happens. Because Jonathan right now, everyone thinks is a lock to make it to the next round. Chances are in my power rankings, Jonathan and Camilla are going to be in the top 5 just because they are so valuable in challenges, but also I don't think they're the number one targets. I think if Rizzo and Charlie go at each other and like Suri and Dee go at each other, Devens, Jonathan, and Camilla are fine. So I think Camilla is probably the safest person to make it out of this tribe just because she's also not putting any names out there like Jonathan is. And I think Jonathan's the next safest just because he's valuable in challenges. Plus, I think if they were to go for someone in that side, it would be Dee or Charlie, is my guess. But
Mhm.
I don't really know. I really don't know about Dee's game. Like, I think she's playing fine. It's just like I expected to get a lot more of Dee because she is now the only winner out there. Like I expected to just get a little bit more because she also is a big character on her last season. But maybe it's just also again because she just keeps winning. So we're gonna get a lot more of like Christian and Emily than we are Dee and Jonathan. But even Jonathan, I feel like we gotten a lot more of than Dee. Right now, let's just say right now we've kind of gone through each of the tribe dynamics. Who do you think right now are like the top like 3 or 4 contenders now for the win? If you had to predict like right now, Karly on episode 3, following Q's boot, who do you think is in the best position right now? It can be for an edit perspective or just like game positioning, but who do you think right now are the people to look out for potential winners of the season?
One of them, Ozzy. I think I'm really liking his edit, and I like his threat level in general. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I think he's one that I'm definitely thinking of as like could make it to the end and win. Devins is another one because I feel like he doesn't have the threat level Christian does, but they're kind of like two peas in a pod. So I feel like it's possible Devins could kind of skate off of whatever he sets up with Christian after Christian becomes too big of a target to ignore.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to think, Sari, I have to say Sari, even though she's probably like I don't know. I kind of just feel like she's gonna go end up being in Final Four fire making, and I feel like she's gonna win it for once because she's gotten better at fire making. Like
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if this is more hope or more belief, but like I could just see her like just barely beating someone that's okay in fire making but not great, and
Mm-hmm.
I would cry
Yeah.
because she would win probably.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah, I'm also looking at Devins just because I think Devins there's a world where you can paint the Devins and Joe thing against Devins only because like why is it such a big deal if Joe asks what you were talking about? But the fact that they painted it so negatively toward Joe gives me a lot of hope that they're trying to keep Devins positive favor for the audience, and I think the fact that also we see that idol thing foreshadowed that it's going to come back to play, and like you said, Christian is just so much more visible than Devins, even though Devins is very visible, that I do think right now Devins can hide behind Christian, which is crazy because on his season he couldn't hide behind anyone, and I think that's why I'm liking Devins more. Is he's playing from a position at the top where he doesn't need to be the front and center character of the season, but he's also not playing from the bottom where he has to scrap and then be cocky about it. He can be cocky because he's on the top. He's given himself the right to be cocky. I do think Emily's so interesting because I think right now, positioning wise, she's in the best position to win the game because she has now Ozzy in her corner. She has Christian. Christian has Angelina and Mike. Even if she wanted to flip, she can then get Stephanie. I think Suri likes Emily. Everyone likes Emily. And even when Emily's messy, people are not necessarily taking it out on her. The only thing is because she's messy, I do worry a little bit that the edit is showing us that this is not the type of player that's going to win. I think if she were going to win, they would portray it in a little bit of a cleaner way. And then I like the Aussie pick, but I think along the same lines of like the old school guy that's got the best chance of winning. I'm actually looking at Colby. I think Colby actually has a really cool story just because I like how even when he's not the center of attention, they're still trying to find ways to like bring it back to his overarching story. Like when they were looking through the bag of Aubrey, he was like, this was not a thing when I played Survivor, but like, you know what? I'm liking this new style of play. I like that I'm kind of getting my hands dirtier by looking through bags. And then this episode, he was like, you know what? Coach and I had a thing on our season, but like I never had a problem with him. We were just pitted against each other. Like I'm glad we can like work together this time. Like we're getting Colby's input on a lot of things that I feel like normally players don't really chime in on, unless maybe it's just because it's Colby and they want to milk him for all they can. But I really do think of that alliance. I don't know who's targeting Colby first. I think they're going for either Joe because he's annoying them, Coach because he's annoying them, Jonathan because he's the strong guy, Chrissy because she's annoying them. Like I really do think Colby is someone who I'm looking at as a potential winner. So I'd say my three right now are like Devin, Suri, and Colby, and maybe Emily.
I like the Colby pick because I mean you could look at a draft and I said first thing I think about Colby, he's boring. And like I'm actually enjoying him this season. So that says a lot about what the edit's doing. Like I like how he's like kind of this cranky old man in a little way, but like he's still able to connect to the players and he's like liking the new gameplay. So yeah, I Colby didn't come to mind, but that also says a lot about his threat level too. Like I don't know who's going to try to like hurry to get him out when there's all these other big threats everywhere.
Well, and you know what's interesting is like in All Stars, he's the biggest threat who's not a winner, you know, because him and Rob Cesternino, because like he was one vote away from winning and he was like the golden boy. He won 5 immunities. Like he was the hottest player to get out on All Stars, but now because he had such a disastrous run on Heroes vs. Villains, and he was disastrous in the fact that he was angry and didn't want to be there, but he still got 5th place. And I think that's what people aren't realizing is like his threat level is so low because even though he made it to 5th place, he was so miserable in the process and the villains just dominated that season that people don't remember how well he did on that season, that all they remember is Australia, and that was season 2. This is such a different game, but I really think he's shown he has the prowess of getting to the end like he did on Heroes vs. Villains. All he needs to do is be able to sell a case to the jury. He clearly has more passion now than he did when he first played. And I agree, I'm liking seeing him play this time. I think because he was such a stick in the mud last time, it's really cool to see him in a redemption's sake, like kind of actually just trying to play the game and have fun with it. And not because he's seeing the world, but because he's actually enjoying the strategy and the gameplay. And like the Rizzo development was really, really cool. And I think Rizzo's been getting a weird edit, but I think Colby taking in Rizzo and kind of like helping make him, you know, a better player and you know, just, you know, bring him down to earth was a really sweet moment. And I don't know, I really like Colby. I think Colby right now next to Suri, because Suri is my hope diction, and I do agree. I think she's actually playing a really good game, and I think she's getting enough of an edit. Honestly, my biggest worry is her premiere, the fact that she was so targeted, and it seemed like they portrayed it almost as Ozzy trying to kind of saving Suri's ass. But I also could see that just as like a showcase of like, hey, this is Suri and Ozzy's duo, and like they're gonna be like the Tony and Sarah of the season, where like fire making is gonna be Suri and Ozzy, and Ozzy's gonna say, you know what, Suri, take this one. Like that would be epic, you know. And I think that's why Suri and Ozzy is the most important relationship we've seen so far. Even more so than like Christian and Devins. Christian and Devins are just having fun, but like Suri and Ozzy, we're getting a lot of great like emotional content with them. That I agree. I could see either one of Suri or Ozzy winning the game, or maybe Devins, or maybe Colby. Like that's where I'm at right now. Like whoever, like if Suri does go out on fire, that's sad. Maybe then Ozzy takes it for Suri, or vice versa. You know, I could definitely see that being the relationship that like the Joe and Eva, or even the Kyle and Camilla. You know, where it's like that's like the duo we're following this season that's gonna make it to the end together. You know.
Yeah, and if Colby wins, as long as it's not a Joe Coach Colby final 3, I will be happy because He's won me over this season. He's no longer boring. Congrats,
And
Colby.
you know what? Even if it is, like, I could see a world where Joe says something and everyone's like, oh, and then Coach chimes in. He's like, no, Joe's right, yada yada. And Colby's like, I don't know. I'm just enjoying watching these two. Like, I didn't mean any harm. I played the game. You know, like I could see a world where that final
Yeah,
three is Joe and Coach fumbling every which way, and then Colby just kind of
yeah.
sneaking in. But
I just
I
don't want to
agree.
see it. I just
Yeah.
don't want it.
I don't want it either. I mean, honestly, I think a worse version of that is like Joe, Coach, and like Jonathan, because then it's like, oh, you
Oh
actually got to get
gosh.
like at least Colby. At least it's like, you know what? He's from the second season. It's been so
Yeah,
long,
it's a good
and
story.
even if Coach wins, it's like it's Coach. You know, like that'd be such a crazy winner for Survivor 50. It's just like I don't need to see Jonathan or Joe or I hate to say it, but even like Chrissy or even Stephanie. Like I don't need to see them all
Hmm.
win. Like I
I'm
really would like to see someone else.
kind of at the point with Coach where I'm like, if he was voted out this week, I'd be okay with it.
Yeah.
Like I've gotten my fill of Coach. I'm like, he's been fun, but he's starting to get on my nerves a bit. The
Yeah.
more and more we see of him.
Yeah, he's such good TV because then you get annoyed with him and then he has like his cramps in the ocean and they have to pull him back and it's just like
That is true.
it's
That
the
was
funniest thing.
beautiful.
Like I'm just hoping we get
He could
more of
have
that with
died.
Coach, especially with he could have died if Jonathan didn't save him. Meanwhile, there's a whole camera crew and medical crew right there and he's like Jonathan saved my life. I'm
I'm
like
sure he probably thought they weren't going to show the crew. That's probably
yeah.
why he said Jonathan saved my
I
life.
don't know, but it was really funny. And honestly, good for Jonathan. I think Jonathan is actually someone I'm enjoying a little bit more now, too. I think he's just kind of like I think the thing with Jonathan is he's acknowledging that people are not respecting him beyond being a challenge threat. And he's acknowledging that. And he's like, you know what? Listen, I'm still going to be a provider. I'm still going to be a challenge threat. But like, I'm going to try to make more social bonds. And I hope you get to see more of it this time. And he at
Hmm.
least understands his place in this season, which I
Right.
respect. Yeah. Cool. So now we've covered who you think is going to win. Right now, if you had to predict, I'm going to put you on the spot, but who do you think goes home this next episode?
Who's on the tribe that just lost again? Remind me.
It is Ozzy and Emily, and then it's the David vs. Goliath 3 and Stephanie.
I think Stephanie goes home. I think that's the easiest bet is that the disaster tribe thing happens again, and Stephanie's a pretty easy boot on that tribe.
Mm-hmm.
And if it's not that, then I think Genevieve goes home.
Cool. Yep. So you think the Jonathan tribe is just gonna sail their way through? That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
I'll give you one from each. Yeah. Go ahead.
Do we know? Are they ever doing double boots? It's so weird.
They're gonna have, based on the schedule, they're gonna have to. We saw the preview for the next episode, which is Zach Brown comes on to do a reward, and we do see 2 idols at the challenge, meaning there will be one losing tribe again. So we're getting 1 boot this week. I do think maybe we're gonna get 1 more swap and then a double boot, and then maybe we'll split up again once we merge into a double scenario. Some people have even theorized a potential triple where like you have 3 tribes and each of them play and one person wins immunity from each and all 3 go to tribal, and it's like because there's an episode coming I think in like 2 or 3 weeks that's 2 hours long, not an hour and a half, and I think that would make a little bit of sense. The problem with that is like it's just gonna suck to lose 3 people in one episode. I remember in Winners at War, the double boot for Winners at War. Do you remember who went out in the double boot?
No.
Parvati and Sandra. And I just think it's and that was the episode where Parvati went out and was swap screwed out, and then Sandra went home because Denise idled her out. And it was just one of those things where I was like, oh, like we're losing literally the 2 most iconic queens of Survivor in one episode. And I just worry that if we get a triple boot, it's gonna be like you're losing D, a winner, Genevieve, my favorite New Era player, and like Christian or Emily Flippin or Mike White or someone who's just such a great character. And that's the problem that we talked about earlier. It's like every boot's going to hurt. And I think that's the problem with like a triple is like you're going to make us do it 3 times at once unless the triple is a way where we lose like all the under-edited players. Like maybe in the triple we lose like Tiffany and somehow Camilla and like who else doesn't have really a big prominent edit, like maybe Chrissy, maybe that's the word. Well, no, Chrissy's on the same tribe. I think we would
lose all 3 of those in one episode. I think that's a bit wishful thinking.
Yeah, and Chrissy's on the same tribe as Tiffany, but like let's say that we have a triple right now, and let's say it's like Stephanie who's like on the outs and hasn't had the best edit, Stephanie, Tiffany, and Camilla, and it's like, oh, okay, that's why they were getting small edits, and then it's kind of like, well, it sucks, but also like you didn't give us a lot of their edits. But if we get a triple and we lose like Suri or Ozzy or Christian, or they finally, or Genevieve's move happens during like a triple, or if we lose like even even like an Emily or an Ozzy, like that would suck, and I
Mhm.
think that's the problem. I hope they would just do a few doubles, but they just don't have the time. I've heard some people out there theorize that Mr. Beast is going to come in to bribe people to leave the game. I don't think Jeff would have
No,
would let that
Jeff would
happen.
not stand for that. No.
No, no. If anything, I think Mr. Beast is going to be involved with an auction somehow, and maybe there's a world where like one of these episodes, it's the Cook Islands twist of like they all vote someone out, and then immediately Jeff's like, "All right, guys, we're going to do a challenge right now, and then you're going to vote someone else out." I could see a
Mhm.
world where that happens, and it's like one of those like questionnaire challenges, and that's how we lose. Like, I think if we have a double or triple boot, we're gonna lose some of these like lesser edited players. I just don't know when it's gonna come, and I hope it comes either sooner rather than later before we can get too attached to some of these big players, or let us really have all these players and give us all this screen time, and then later on the season maybe do it around like the final 8, final 9, do a double. I don't
Mhm.
know though, it sucks either way. We're gonna lose so many good people in the
Yeah.
next few weeks, and it hurts. But I'll give you one from each tribe, just who I predict could go home. I don't think that Jonathan tribe, like you said, is going to tribal, but I think it's gonna probably be, I would guess, a D vote. Maybe D, it just turns on her, and she says I should have gotten Suri, or it's going to be Rizzo versus Charlie. And in the edits case, I do think Rizzo squeaks it out. I think Rizzo would
Mhm.
team up with like Suri, so I'm looking at like Charlie or D as the boots there. I think Genevieve does sadly get idled out, even though I love a world where they all just vote Tiffany. I do think Genevieve is the boot there. And then if the Orange tribe goes, I think Stephanie's an easy vote, which is why I could see a world where Christian turns on the David versus Goliath too, and Angelina goes home. Also, because Angelina's edit hasn't been amazing.
Mhm.
Um,
Right.
yeah, and
The
even
the the
yeah, go
only
ahead.
reason I don't think Dee's going home is I feel like her edit has been really, I don't know, like I feel like with how such a dominant winner, I feel like we should be have gotten more but maybe this episode she does go home and we get, this is the episode where we get a lot of content from her or
True,
something. But it
true,
just seems weird that I don't know. It just seems weird that like how little an edit we've gotten from her. So that's the only thing that makes me think
right.
it might not be her time yet.
Right, because look at who's gone home. Jenna had a big edit in her first episode, also because she was just like the first boot, first person from Borneo. We got a lot of Jenna. Kyle goes out the way he goes out, but he did get a lot of screen time because he was also the one
Mhm.
in charge of the dynamics on his tribe. Savannah gets a ton of confessionals, a ton of content in the first 2 episodes she's in, and then Q gets a lot while he's there. So it could just be one of those things that maybe the next few players we go home are going to be these big, flashier players. Maybe we do lose Coach somehow in this pre-merge. Maybe we do lose Ozzy. Maybe we lose Christian even.
Right.
And the people who make the merge are going to be the ones who have the smaller edits, who then later will take over the story. I think it would be a little unsatisfying in that sense, but there's just really no one I want to see go home right now except for like
Yeah.
Joe and Jonathan and
Well, and I don't
maybe
want Joe to go home because he's causing so much drama with
true.
like I that's what like that's part of why I was excited to see Joe in because I didn't know what he would do, and then I saw him doing this shit, and I was like, oh, it's like that one episode of 48 where he was like causing all kinds of mess with
Hmm.
David,
David. Hmm.
and I was like, oh, maybe that was just a David. No, that's a Joe thing. It's just you're gonna see it more and more he comes back. So
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. We didn't really talk a lot about Joe, but I think he got the best swap possible for him. I really think he was in deep trouble in all the tribals he's gone to, and now he's sitting prettier than a lot of other contestants, which kind of sucks. But yeah, thanks, Carly. This was so fun. I appreciate you coming on here. We haven't really done like a whole like recap like this before, just two of us, or even with Zach. Maybe we'll have to find a time to do all three of us, me, you, and Zach, eventually sometime. But did you have fun on your first co-host experience for Recipe for Reality?
Yeah, it's great. It's great talking Survivor and like all these players that are just so much fun.
Hmm.
I got to speak on Q after
Yeah.
his boot.
Do you have any
So yeah,
last words on Q before we end this? Any last thoughts on Q's game?
no, just like I said, he went out like I would have always wanted him to go out in the most chaotic way possible. Like if he had just been a regular vote out, I would have been a little disappointed. The fact that he asked Mike to vote him out, I was like, perfect ending to my boy.
Yeah, there you go. Carly, is there anything you want to plug? I mean, you were just on our Oscar snubs draft that's out there. Anything else you wanna talk about?
No, Nope.
Cool.
I'm hoping my girl Jen makes it. I'm hoping she survives.
Let's
But
manifest that we at
yeah,
least see Genevieve survive the week, and if that means
yeah,
Orange goes to tribal again and we lose one of our David versus Goliath, I will sacrifice Angelina for Genevieve at this point. I think Angelina
yeah.
was never gonna come in as the same Angelina, and sadly, as great as that is player wise, like I'm glad to see that she's changed her game up and she's playing differently. She's not the same Angelina she was, and
She's
I'm
not
just
stealing jackets.
yeah.
She should have asked Q for his Q skirt before he left.
I know. I was really hoping that would happen. But Jeff did say, and I don't know if this is a spoiler, but Jeff did say in the like premiere party thing when he was going around interviewing, he goes, Angelina, there's a moment that's kind of iconic. That's kind of similar to that moment. I'm wondering if Angelina gets voted out and they all ask her for her jacket, or if she asks for like, let's say Christian goes home or Stephanie or Mike or something. She asks for their jacket. I don't know. I hope we get something a little bit more with Angelina, but I
Yeah,
do like how she had that really emotional moment this week. So I would sacrifice though Angelina at this point for Genevieve, honestly.
yeah.
But poor Jen. She's still my favorite. Next to Suri on this season, it's Suri and then
Well,
it's Jen.
and I
So
think she can come back too. She's so. This is only her second time. I think
right,
she could. If they do New Era All Stars, there's no way they don't ask her back,
and
especially if she
she's so
gets flamed
iconic.
out by
Yeah,
Aubrey. Yeah,
people love her too, and that's the thing too. If she goes out because of Aubrey's idol when it was a boomerang idol, and she should have had an idol anyway because she
yeah,
found an idol. I could see a world where they bring back like her, Q, and Kyle as captains of a future season, and they're like Q got screwed because he was swap screwed and laid down his sword for Stephanie. Kyle went out with an injury, and Genevieve went out by an idol, and like they're coming back for redemption, and they're with all new players, or it's like a
Mhm.
All Stars thing where they're just returning for a third time, and everyone else is coming back for a second time. I could see a world where we see Q, Kyle, and if Genevieve goes out early, Genevieve on a future season. I think some new era players, I don't know if after this we'll see Charlie again or Camilla, just because their edits have been
right.
so small. But I definitely think Q. I definitely think Kyle. Honestly, if he wants to come back, I could
Yeah,
see them wanting Kyle back. Despite Kyle being like number one on everyone's list of like, why are you here? Just because like you aren't good enough TV to warrant a second coming if you already won. But really, he was great TV, and I loved watching him. So
yeah.
I think Joe is someone they would invite back too, but maybe not for a little while. So yeah, it'll be really interesting to see what new era players do get invited time and time again, and which new
Mhm.
era players it's like, well, this was their shot, and you know what, that we got what we needed from them. Like maybe Rizzo, maybe this is it for Rizgod, or maybe Rizgod is going to be your next Amanda Kimmel, and we're going to see him 2 seasons from now, and he's going to do 3 seasons in 4 years. I don't know.
Yeah.
Any last thoughts, Karly, before we wrap it up tonight?
No, no, just praying for my girl Jen. But
Yeah.
that's about it. Yeah.
I've been doing a really shitty job asking people this, but let's ask you: who had the recipe for reality this week? Who had what it took to become the star of the week for you?
I mean, you know my answer. It's got to be cute. It's got to be. I love him. And he's
I'm gonna
gone
give
now too. I have to give it to him. I can't give it to him again.
Yeah, I'm gonna give it to Mike White just because I do think Mike White. People thought he was gonna be on here to be a good character, but really, like he did kind of drive that vote. And even though it was Emily and Ozzy being the swing vote, Mike White kind of put it in motion. I think it would have been an easy Stephanie vote had Mike not been like, we should do Q tonight. So I think Mike is actually not being talked about as much. We didn't really talk about Mike much at all, but I just think Mike is just a really good player, and this proved it. I just don't know if this David vs. Goliath 3 is going to stick around much longer, and if they get a shot taken against them with Angelina, I can see Mike following suit right after that, but we'll have to see.
Yeah.
Thank you all so much for watching. Thank you, Karly, for being the best guest. I've always been wanted to talk Survivor just with you and I here, and it was a real treat to talk to you, especially considering the momentous occasion of our beautiful Q going out right here, fourth person out of this game of Survivor 50. But thank you all. Stay tuned for next week. Zach and I are probably going to be doing a episode recap right before I leave for Toronto, so stay tuned. And if you're in Toronto, Stephen Fishback and Marianne Oketch are doing a book signing for Stephen's new book. They're going to be in Toronto. I'm hoping to get to go and see that on April 8th, I believe is the date. So if anyone else is in Toronto, I might see you there. I hope I can go, and I will report back if I do. So that'll be a lot of fun. But thank you guys so much, and we'll see you next time.